Hello, Dr. Hyer. Thank you for joining me today and coming out to discuss the significance of dental health within the community and your role as an orthodontist. But I'm just going to start off by asking a little bit about your personal experience as an orthodontist. So, why is dental health especially important during the teenage years?
Well, I think you obviously begin your habits. Hopefully, they'd be when you're younger, but sometimes dental health when you're younger is something that your parents can help kind of do. When you're a teenager, you should be responsible enough to really start taking charge of your own health. And oral health is a significant part of your overall health.
Yeah, and do you think there are certain dental habits that you wish more teenagers practiced?
That would be really easy to answer. That they would become more familiar with their toothbrush and a floss. Um, you'd be surprised how many people don't really floss and brush on a regular basis. It kind of surprises me a little bit, and I think it's partly because we live in a world where outer appearance is kind of the important thing, but it's not so visible per se, but it's important.
Yeah, and how does oral health affect overall health and well being?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not up to date on all the literature that would explain what they do because they have been talking about that a lot more than when I went through dental school. It was important, but more and more they've talked about how it plays a significant factor in your overall health. I know, for example, a real simple, basic example is that when we do things such as when you go to a dentist to have a dental cleaning, if you have some heart issues, you have to have some antibiotics taken before you get a cleaning because if you don't, there's a possibility that it affects the heart and the valves. And so we call it prophylactic antibiotic coverage prior to a dental cleaning when you have certain health issues. So it kind of means that really there is a connection. So when you have tissue that's unhealthy and it's bleeding a lot, it just means it's not in good health. And by nature, it plays a little more of a negative factor on your overall health. To what degree is hard to explain, but it plays a negative factor on it.
Yeah, I think that's very important for a lot of the youth to hear now. But are there some common dental problems that you see in teenagers specifically?
Yeah, a specific problem is that I see kids that come in and they're they've got the latest fashions and trends. They've got the makeup. They've got everything all in order, it appears. But then they'll open and you're going to look at your think you're kind of missing an important factor of what I feel is putting yourself forward in life is just to present your best self. And part of that just is taking care of oral hygiene. And of course, I joke with them sometimes. And I said, your friends would appreciate you a lot more and would like you a lot more if you brush a little bit more. The problem is that it seems like it's easy to do, but some people I'm not so sure brush as good as they should. But two, we kind of live in a time now where you actually have more things available to you. I mean, you have these mechanical toothbrushes, you have water flossers, you have a lot of things that are a little bit more available for you dental health wise. And to be quite frank with you, they either are not doing that or sometimes just because they haven't had the habit with their parents to go to a dentist every 6 months, it's not a habit. So we'll have sometimes people come in for an initial exam and we'll say, when was the last time you saw your dentist? And they say, it's been a few years. Well, ideally, you should say within the last 6 months. And it's important. It's a simple thing. It's just what you do. You do certain things in life on a daily basis. You would never think about not eating every day. You do that because you need to do that. Well, dental health is similar. You need to go see your dentist every 6 months. If you do that, you're going to take care of your health better. and it just will be better overall. But if you're seeing a dentist once every few years, sometimes little problems become big problems by the time they're finally solving the problems. And that's when it really hurts, is when I see a teenager come in and they've got teeth that are like a huge cavities in them. And sometimes they're so far gone that they can't even do a root canal on them. They've got to just pull them. And right there, you're going to start compromising your teeth, because nowadays you're expected to live till you're 80. And if you're losing your teeth when you're 16, what's going to compromise your overall health?
Yeah, I think that's a habit that a lot of teenagers should be hearing about. Um, but going into orthodontic treatment
Mhm.
specifically, what are some of the most common reasons that teenagers need braces?
Well, I'll be upfront with people and tell them that, there's a lot of people that are not going to have major problems if they don't have straight teeth. However, to be quite frank with you, I think, and I'll tell parents this oftentimes, if you can do it, because I know to some people that can be difficult financially, they may not be able to really do that, and there's certain finances that are important. But I have seen kids come in that will not smile. They do not look as though they have much confidence, self-confidence, and yet when their teeth are straightened, all of a sudden they're smiling and they're a little more outgoing to everybody. They'll actually be talking a little more to you. And my feeling is we live in such a world now, a global world, where it's just, there's contact, there's just interaction everywhere. And I think it's imperative that you always put your best foot forward in presenting yourself. And if you can have braces and be able to straighten those teeth, I truly believe it gains confidence in individuals. And with that confidence, it will be a lifelong investment that they'll benefit. And it'll be a great benefit for them as they're contacting and interacting with people throughout their lives, whether it's work, social, what have you. And I've seen that in kids where they've come in extremely shy and lack self-esteem, and they'll leave with just a different outlook.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So, at what age do you think a child should first see an orthodontist?
Oh, the good questions. Well, it used to be, my father was an orthodontist. It used to be when he was doing orthodontics that kids would come in when they're like 13 or whatever, 14 maybe. But it was a day where they would almost always just take out four teeth, four bicuspids in their treatment. Well, nowadays we don't do that so much. Sometimes we still have to, but in the majority of cases we don't have to take out teeth if we manage their dental development. In other words, we like to see kids come in around 7, 8 years of age, because they're in what we call a mixed dentition, meaning they have some baby teeth and some permanent teeth. And the thing is if we manage the space at that early age, we often can create the room that they need for the permanent teeth when they're older. So we call it like a 2-phase treatment nowadays is what we do. Early phase, and then a final second phase treatment. But if kids come in like when they're 12, 13, and 14, it's kind of beyond managing that, because all the baby teeth are gone. And therefore all of a sudden you increase your chance of having to extract teeth. It just happened today in several of my initial exams. They came in, they're older. One was older and needed teeth to be removed because there just was no space, extremely crowded. There was another one that came in where we had seen her about 3 or 4 years ago and recommended she start treatment, and they didn't want to. They just wanted to do one set of treatment. So they came in now. Well, now she lost space, and now we're having to remove teeth. Where had I seen her earlier, I wouldn't have had to have done that. So we like to see kids around 7 to 8 years of age. And that technically is actually our National Association of Orthodontists. That's what they recommend also. That's technically not just my input. It's also from the National Association they recommend that age.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And now going a little bit back to teenagers and the trends
Mhm.
that we discussed, are there certain trends on social media that concern you the most regarding orthodontics?
Oh, now you're asking difficult questions.
Yeah.
Because my wife is good at social media and keeps me in touch with what's kind of going on, and sometimes I'm not really watching that so much. So, is there anything in particular that you're referring to?
Yeah, so maybe some misconceptions that you've been aware of.
Um, well, I could give you one example. It may not be all comprehensive, but there was that company called Smile Direct Club, I believe it was called. And it was where you could mail in for material. They would send it to you. You'd take an impression, you'd send it back. They'd send you aligners, and you would treat yourself. Well, they've gone bankrupt. And the reason why is because straightening teeth isn't just a matter of just slapping a liner in your teeth and then voila, it's done. Even though it may not seem that technical, there's a little bit more to it than that. And I know that's the case because I've had people come into my office who have had Invisaligns and were disappointed because of the results, not getting the results. But there's this trend of the kind of treat yourself, self-help, kind of that kind of issues. Um, well, you can tell by their experience. There was quite a few lawsuits and everything else. But bottom line is, they went bankrupt because it really needs to be watched over by a professional, somebody that's done it. I've done it for, I've been doing this now for 36, 37 years now, and I still have cases that are challenging. That just, I still have to put my thinking cap on when I'm trying to solve the problem. And I've been doing that all my life. And some people think they can just go in and get a mail order thing and fix it. It doesn't work that easily. So.
Right. And are there certain pieces of advice that you would give to teenagers who get their dental information online?
Yes. When you're getting anything online, you need to check your facts. You need to double check. And there's nothing wrong with just simply asking your dentist. I mean, they're not going to keep any secrets from you. They'd be more than happy to converse with you. And I think you should have that type of relationship with your dentist. If you're seeing them each 6 months, you can ask them those questions. And they're important, and especially with AI, because with AI right now, unfortunately, AI can kind of generate its own information if it wants to. And so you really do need to double check when you're just asking a question. You really do need to double check and make sure Google doesn't have all the answers. Many times it's quite accurate, but my feeling is if it has to deal with your health, you know, Google, do your research, not a problem, but check, verify, make sure everything you're hearing is accurate, because it isn't always accurate.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And now going a little bit into a common issue in today's youth, which is vaping, do you think that vaping plays a significant role in affecting oral health?
Well, all I can do is be honest with you and say I do not know the exact. I haven't read papers on it. I don't keep up with that information directly. All I can just simply say is my personal opinion is I do not think it is wise or advantageous in any form. I I do have a bias towards I think big companies, big pharma companies. I get worried that there are a lot of people in this world who are in for money, and they really don't care about anyone's health. They just want money. And my personal feeling is vaping is something I personally would, well, I would never do that myself. It's putting chemicals into your lungs, and I don't know. Just as having gone through school and have learned the sciences, that the classes that I had to take to get here in my position, I just know that our body is an amazing instrument, but it's human and it can be abused. And unfortunately, when you're young, you feel like you can live forever, but it catches up to you. I know because I'm older and I can feel it in my bones. But you need to be careful. So teenagers, I think, if they're doing that, um, they may think that they're invincible, but it catches up to them and it'll affect them in their health. And when you realize we live long nowadays, I'd like to be 80 and still walk around and be able to hike in the mountains, which we love to do with my family. I like to hike around and walk around, do things outdoor. I don't want to find myself carrying an oxygen tank along with me. That's not my idea of a fun golden years.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. Um, well, are there any substances or foods specifically that you think affect oral health or teeth?
Well, it seems like Takis seems to be the popular food item for kids. I I I will kind of reiterate what I just mentioned about the tobacco um, big business. I feel like there's big business out there also on foods, and they want to sell something. There's a lot of these drinks that are hyper caffeinated, and I feel like that's not, personally, I don't think that's great for your health. So I think people nowadays need to realize, you know what, we have an awful lot available to us, but there's a lot of real good things, and there's a lot of things I don't think are healthy at all. And so I think there's some things you really have to be careful in what you're taking advantage of. I laugh about the talkies, but I've actually heard of people who've had, they start having ulcers at a young age because of the chemicals that are put in some of these things. So I think it behooves you to take ownership of your own health. And as a teenager, that's when you start taking ownership. You're old enough to know right from wrong, what's good and what's bad, and I think that's important. Just to be aware: is this chemical really something? I mean, drinking a lot of these highly caffeinated drinks, I just don't think are good for your teeth as well as your overall health.
Yeah, again, a lot of the adolescents nowadays should definitely be aware of these issues. But transitioning into the next topic, which is health equity, how do income, transportation, language, or insurance affect access to treatment?
Well, that's a good question. Repeat that question again so I make sure I'm hearing it all right.
Yeah, so how do income, transportation, language, or insurance affect access to treatment?
Well, my personal feeling is when it comes to dental health, almost anything is within reason if it's important enough to somebody. It's not like you're going in and getting a heart surgery for $100,000 or plus or more. That could be problematic if you didn't have insurance. I can understand that could be prohibitive to somebody. When it comes to dental health, I think for the most part, um, if you have insurance, boy, that's fabulous. And I think a lot of that is available now to people. Um, but even if you don't, I think if it's important enough to you, you can save. We just don't live in a society that knows what the word save is. It's like, oh, just charge it. Well, I think you need to be honest with yourself and know what you can pay for and what you can't. And if it means, well, I can't have it today, it doesn't mean you can't have it next year or the year after. if you're dedicated enough to saying, hey, this is what I want. And I think that's the beauty of our country is if you want it, you could pretty much have it. You just have to make the decisions. Sometimes it's cutting certain things to be able to get something. But as you know, that's what I think you can do. So there are some limitations in that, but for the most part, it's not prohibitive.
Yeah, and do you think that there are certain programs available for low-income families who need orthodontic treatment?
That's a good question because I am not really sure. I don't deal with insurance things with like my staff do. I think there are some of those that are out there, not so much orthodontic, but maybe more dental that's out there. I know, for example, that the California Dental Association, I don't know if it's once or like a couple times a year, they'll go around to various locations in California and will do free dental work for people. They have to come there, they got to get in line, and I know it's not for everybody, but it is one thing that is available. As far as the different things that are available out there for others, to be quite frank with you, I do not know 100%.
Yeah, thank you for sharing some of the input that you shared. But is there any advice that you would give to policymakers regarding youth dental health?
Hmm. Yes, I wish it was more about benefiting people functionally instead of only aesthetically. And what I mean by that is, for example, um, I know, I know, I want to say Medi-Cal. I sometimes think will pay for people who have like a missing front tooth and can help out in that way. The problem is some of those people are missing their posterior or their back, the teeth in the back of the mouth. Well, it's great to look nice with some front teeth, but if you can't chew with your back teeth, you're going to have some health problems. And so I wish there was more of a concern on overall dental health, not just aesthetic benefit. Because I know that's beneficial and helpful, but it's not as critical in my opinion. It's like putting a band-aid on somebody instead of solving the problem that they're having.
Right, thank you for sharing that once again. And finally, going into our last topic, which is prevention. What warning signs should parents and teenagers never ignore in terms of oral health?
Well, it's interesting because one of the biggest problems you can have is probably the most innocent and what some parents may not even realize is a problem is when they're setting their little infant down in the crib at night with a bottle of milk. The worst thing you could ever do for your child. And that's sometimes I even have to talk to my kids about it because sometimes I see them doing it and I don't do that. You have to realize that I guess sometimes people feel like candy is the only way you get cavities. No, I mean, you eat bread right before, you just ate bread every night before you went to sleep and didn't brush your teeth, you'd have some problems. Drinking milk, they're drinking the milk, and when they drink and they fall asleep, and that milk is just kind of sitting there, or it's not completely gone, it will just rot out the teeth. And it's what they'll call them, I think it's the name of the baby bottle care. Anyway, I can't remember the name that we used to use, but because I don't deal with that so much in orthodontics. But there's some things that people need to be educated about. And like I said, the beauty of the Google, what you have available to you, is you can inquire about that. What can I give my kids, or what do I need to do, before I put them in the crib, or what can they get away with? Kids may be snacking, watching TV at night, and what do? They could have maybe brushed their teeth after dinner, but if they're snacking at night and then they just go to sleep, well, you've got something working on your teeth all night long. And so it's just overall dental health. And like I said, if you Google it, research fine, but verify with your family dentist. Just ask them, hey, is this a problem? Or even with your hygienist when you go in and get a cleaning every 6 months. Just ask them. They're very knowledgeable about what's good and bad or indifferent, but they can help you. It's those little things that sometimes are not good for your teeth that kind of just go unnoticed, and not because they're bad parents, just because I didn't know. They just didn't realize.
Yeah, and what are the top 3 things every teenager can do to protect their teeth?
Brush and floss every day. Number one. It's the most important thing you can do. Sometimes people think that because I'm a dentist, I don't have sweets. There's no one that likes chocolate more than me. Chocolate and ice cream is probably the most popular thing in our family. I mean, if there's not ice cream in our refrigerator, something's wrong. There's an issue. The difference is that I eat candy, I have ice cream, but I brush. Therefore, I'm at my age, I'm in my 60s, and I have not one cavity in my mouth. Did I eat candy? Oh, like crazy, like anybody does. The difference is that I just simply take care of it after. I brush my teeth, I floss each day. It's just simple habit, but if a teenager could do that, you'd just be amazed. Just your friends would really appreciate you. Number one, you have better breath. I mean, you just need to keep it clean. So I think number one, that's probably one of the most important habits you can do. Two, being aware of just what you're eating. I mean, there's too much stuff out there that's available to you that's not healthy and not good. That would be another one I think that's important. And the third one is just making regular visits to your dentist every 6 months for cleaning. It's really basic things you can do, simple, but would profoundly benefit your health throughout your life.
Yeah, I think that's very important in terms of pieces of advice for not only teenagers but everyone to hear about. And finally, for the closing question, out of all of the insight that you've shared today, if you could give one major piece of advice to every teenager about protecting their oral health, what would it be?
The number one would be the number one I just said: brush and floss every day. At least morning and night, but it'd be ideally after you eat. But if they did that, and the problem is because flossing is often ignored, because people don't see the value of it. But it's very simple to do. Brush and floss, most important thing you can do. Because even if you see the dentist every 6 months, if you're not brushing in between on a regular basis, that 6 months is going to carry you. So the most important, brush and floss properly. You'd be amazed by how much it'd help. It's so simple.
Okay, thank you for all of the insight and advice that you've shared today. I'm sure a lot of the teenagers listening have learned a lot from you today, and yeah, thank you. We admire what you do.
Thank you.